Hi, this is Sander de Recht for ActionVFX.com, and today we're going to turn this shot into this shot with the help of Fusion and, of course, the new Large Scale Smoke Plumes Volume 2 collection from ActionVFX. Let's get started. The first thing I like to do is try to figure out what the story of the shot is. In this case, our main actor is walking out on the ledge and looking out over the city that is supposed to be in ruins. So the first thing I notice is that he's looking at the parking lot first and then looks all the way over to the city. So my backstory for this shot is our main actor hears a big bang. He walks up onto the roof to see if his car is okay, and then he says, "I am going to need a cab." Here's a car. That's going to work nicely for that over here. And then his look goes from here to there, so I'm going to put this big building on fire. Yeah, it might be a hospital. There will be smoke over here. And I think this big building is on fire as well, so I'm going to put another large smoke plume over here. Right, I chose a couple of smoke plumes in advance. Here's one that's nicely centered. Here's one that's a little bit more developed. And I like this one because the fire has just started. So when you go back into the story we're trying to tell is that he heard a big bang. That's his car that exploded, and then he realizes that the rest of the city is in flames as well. I like this one for the hospital, I like this one for the car, and I like this one for the building here in the middle. The first thing I'm going to do is rename them so I can recognize them. So this one is the center fire, this one is called the hospital fire, and this one is called car fire. I'm going to put them in the order of appearance as far as I'm concerned to make things visually more appealing to me. So the first thing we need to do to get these items into the frame is to track the shot. Now there are a couple of ways to go about this. One way is of course to do a complete 3D camera track, but since large scale smoke plumes will be visible mostly in the distance, I think we can get away with 3 separate planar tracks. So let's get started on those. I'm going to add a planar tracker and I'm going to start on the left, select the points. I'm going to do a very basic track, translation, rotation, scale will suffice. I'm going to start at frame 0 and I'm going to track all the way to the end. The funny thing is that you can now even see that he's looking at the place where we're tracking, so that's a good match. So this is the tracker for the hospital. I'm going to create a planar transform tool because that's what we're going to need later on. So this is going to be called planar hospital track. Let's start again and select this point. I'm going to do it all over again, because as soon as you have exported the planar transform, the connection between the original tracker and the planar transform is lost anyway. So we can just use one track and track 3 times and export it 3 times and then we're done. I'm going to put the fire here. Yes, I'm going to set the reference time. This will delete all tracking data in splines and I will continue. Yes. And I'm going to continue again. Translation, rotation, scale. And we're done again. I'm going to create a planar transform right here. I'm going to call it planar center. And now for the final one, I'm going to track the car over here because that is the one that's going to be on fire. I'm going to do a very basic track because they are very far away and effectively this will be a plane. I'm going to set the planar tracker again, do the track again. Export a planar transform, and I'm going to call that one planar car. Things can be so simple. Right, now that all the tracking is done, I'm going to remove the planar tracker and we're off to the next stage. Since Fusion works with relative transforms, the planar transforms that we have now are not suitable to move the flames and fire and smoke that we have right now, because if you move a certain percentage from here to here, it will have a different result in pixels if you move an image with other dimensions. So what we're going to do to compensate for that is create an empty background that is exactly the same size as the original footage. What I'm going to do is create a brightness contrast tool, feed the original shot into it, and set the RGB and alpha to 0. Now I have a completely transparent background that is exactly the same size as the original footage. I'm going to rename that one empty background. So if I merge something on top of this empty background and then use the planar transform after that, it will have the same movement it had in the beginning. To show you, I will do a small mock-up, do a small background, basic background, going to merge it on top of the empty, put it into the tracker, and then I'm going to merge it on top of the original shot, like so, and I'm going to put it right on top of the building. Now when I create a preview, we will be able to see that everything sticks right to the hospital, as we have called the building right now. And look, the big black box is stuck to the hospital building, just the way it's supposed to be. This merge is going to be the hospital merge. Hospital merge. Everything that goes on top of this empty background will be combined and transformed and merged together on this place, and everything will stick to the hospital. I'm going to use the same background and a couple of mergers to check if all the tracks were correct. And since that's quite boring to look at, I'm going to speed it up a little so you don't have to endure everything. Here's the second one. That one is stuck to where we want it to be as well. And here's the third one, and that one is stuck to the car as well. So we have 3 very nice tracks right now on which we can build. So let's do that. First, let's reactivate this one again, put this one here as well, put everything back into place. I'm going to use the empty background as a placeholder for all 3 the smoke plumes and work our way through it. So let's start from left to right, because that's basically the easiest way to approach this. We have a nice EXR collection. The cool thing about EXR is that they come with a lot of options inside of the files. If you look here, Fusion by default only has these options available, but you can mix and match and put everything where you want it. It's not as convenient as the extractor from After Effects or the channel mixer in Nuke or whatever it's called, but you can get the job done, and in a couple of minutes I will show you an easy way to work with these files. But I think for this smoke plume I don't need extra stuff, so all the things that are in here, the volume light, the RGB light, the normal mask, the fire smoke mask, the environment lights, the depth, etc. are not needed, so I'm going to stick with the default settings. The only thing that I'm going to do to start with is add a brightness contrast tool and adjust the gamma. I'm going to use the predivide post multiply option so we get nice edges. I have the feeling that the rendered smoke is actually in gamma 1, or it's linear, so, and the shot itself with our main actor is already sRGB or gamma 2 or whatever, so I have to get them on the same page color science wise. First thing we're going to do is put a merge tool between the empty background and the next merge. Let's put them in here, and since the resolution of the hospital fire is twice as large as the original footage, I am going to scale it down and put it on top of the building. I'm going to scale it down a little bit and pretend that the top floor is already engulfed in flames like this. Since there's a little bit of smoke sticking out, I'm going to add a small rectangle mask or poly mask to make sure that there's only smoke where it makes sense. I'm going to remove the default animation because the shape of the hospital itself won't change during hospital fire on top of the hospital, and it looks pretty good. I'm going to create a small preview to see if it works for the duration of the shot itself. Well, the preview is done. Let's take a look. Ah, look at that. The building is on fire in quite a convincing way, as far as I'm concerned. Now, first let's get the other stuff into place. I'm basically going to repeat the previous steps. Use the brightness contrast to change the gamma from the center fire as well. I'm going to put a merge tool here for the center, and then I'm going to take a look at where I want to put the smoke plume for that one. It's a little bit closer though, so I think I want it to be a little bit bigger. It's coming through this part of the building, like so. I think I might want the smoke to be a little bit more developed. So I'm going to start about 150 frames later, like that. And I'm even going to make it a little bit bigger still. So now we have two pretty convincing fires on the same frame. Let's add the third one. Same step, put the gamma in there, put another merge tool in there on top of the empty background, and put that in here for the car. Like so. And to make it slightly more realistic, I'm going to add a small polygon mask so that it will be a little more irregular. Invert it, soft edge it a little bit, like so. Remove the animation because the shape won't change either. And then we have three convincing fires. The only thing I would probably prefer is if the smoke was the other way. This way it looks a little more dramatic in the shot. Only weird thing, of course, is that now the direction of the wind has changed all over the shot, so I'm going to change it all around for all the shots. So let's go into the merge tool, flip it over, and I'm going to do that same thing for the center, flip it over, and put it right there. So now the direction of the wind is all the same. I added a small LUT at the end to tie everything together because I like the way this LUT brings out the sky. It's also nice and saturated. Let's do another preview. And we're back, so let's see how it turned out. Yeah. Well, I really like the way the car is on fire at the moment. And the hospital and the center building are looking good as well. The only thing I didn't realize in the beginning was that the fire from the hospital is a little bit too timid, in my personal opinion. And I like the bellowing flames of the center building more, so I think I'm gonna change the two around. The hospital fire becomes the center fire, and the center fire becomes the hospital fire. I'm going to rearrange them like so. And just for visual clarity, I'm going to move them around as well, like this. And then I'm going to make this one a little bigger, so the whole top of the building is on fire, like this. And the center fire goes in here. I don't need the hospital polygon anymore, but I do need another polygon for the center now, for the exact same reasons we had one before. Remove the animation, invert it, and voila, there it is. Make it a little bit varied. I really like it a lot better like this. I'd like to take down the saturation from the hospital one a little bit. Let's not get rid of it completely. Just a little bit like this. And maybe even a little less contrast because it's further in the distance. Yeah, this looks quite nice. The same thing applies to the car. I really like the way it looks, except for the fact that combined with the LUT, it's a little bit too saturated. So I'm going to take that one a little bit down, lower the contrast a little. So now I have the flame and the smoke in the background and the smoke in the foreground. They're all on fire. But to be honest, I think I don't want the center building to be on fire. Now here's where the fun begins, because in a traditional render, like this, you get the fire and the smoke and they are all combined together. But the cool thing is we have EXR files, and those come, like I said before, with special channels. So let's see what we can do with those channels. I'm going to move the center fire a little bit out of the way, and I can show you what we can do with those. Basically in Fusion, you have the option over here to view all the channels and to rearrange them the way you like them, just like I told you before. But there is an easier way to do this. You can run the script HOS House of Secrets Split EXR Ultra. You can find this script and many others like it inside of Reactor, the community-based plugin manager for Fusion that can be downloaded from stakeunderwater.com. So what HOS Split EXR Ultra does is read all the information. Well, it says so right here. It will split a multi-channel EXR image out into multiple loader nodes. So if I do that, boom, all the things that could be seen here are split out into separate loaders. So here we have the various normals. We have the lighting from the right, the lighting from the left, the lighting from above. We have environment lighting, which is a little bit difficult to see like this, but it's in here as well. And we have the emission shaders and the depth masks, and also the fire smoke masks, which means that we get a mask for the smoke in the green channel and a mask for the fire in the red channel. So all these things that we had available here are now available here as well. And the cool thing is that if you look at the RGB light, you have only the smoke available. So in this case, for today, we won't be needing the other options. We're just going to use the RGB light to recreate the smoke from scratch. First, we start by using a channel boolean, which means we can copy the red background into all the three channels, R, G, and B. So now we have a grayscale image of the red background. I'm going to call this one light from the right. I'm going to copy it and reuse it. I'm going to call it light from the left. And to get this from the left, we go and change everything to the green background. So now we have a grayscale image of the light from the left. And to make things complete, we have also light from the top. And to do this, we have the blue, and we put that one in there as well. So we have it from the right, we have it from the left, and we have it from the top. So these three images can be used to recreate smoke. And how do we go about this? We create another background from the generator tab. We take a look at the resolution of this image, 1496 by 2160. 1496 by 2160. And now we have the same background as the smoke image. We're going to make it a nice smoky color. And now we're going to combine the two, because if we use a composite merge like this, and we input the light like this, and we add the burn in like so, this basically is the same as a mathematical add or a plus. The cool thing is, by blending it in, we change the blue background into a smoke plume. And if we add a matte control and then use the alpha channel inside the matte control, combine the alpha and say post multiply image, we get a nice bluish smoke column. So instead of a fiery smoke column, we can put that in here as well, and we get a nice bluish one. Of course, it's not an exact reproduction of what we had before, so we're going to add two more merge nodes like so, and add these together. And now we have something that's very similar to what we had before. But the cool thing is, by adjusting the blend in these three merges, we can determine how much of the information is put back in. I think it might be better if the color is quite similar to what we had before. So I think we should start with the darkest part like this. And now we have a smoke column right here in the middle of the shot without any fire, which looks kind of cool. Most of the light in the shot comes from the right, so I'm going to turn down the light from the left a little. I'm going to make sure that the light from the right is a little more intense. And I think if I add a color, brightness, contrast, and work a little bit with the gamma and the contrast, we get a nice dark plume, which fits into the shot very nicely. We now have three merges that can be used to determine the look of the smoke. Of course, if you want to reuse this, you can package all these nodes into a group and add some user controls to control the merges from one central place. But since we only need it for the one situation in this case, I'm going to leave it like that because I think it looks pretty good. The only thing that still needs a little bit of work, as far as I'm concerned, is the burning hospital, because if it's just burning over there, it doesn't look exactly realistic in my opinion. So I'm going to use some other cool stuff from ActionVFX. I'm going to load in a low-res version of the burning pole collection, which I created earlier, which is basically a door frame, but from the place where we are standing, it can be a window frame as well, of course. So let's burn down this building. First, I'm going to add a background tool, which is nice and dark. I'm going to add a merge tool and put it on top of the building. I think if I use the multiply function, it will work well. If I turn it down a little and then use a small polygon mask to create a little bit of a burnt look. Like so, maybe a little darker. Like this. Remove the animation because the image will be the same for the duration of the shot. And then I think we're going to need a couple of windows that are also on fire as well. So I'm going to put those in here, make a little bit of space, add another merge tool, and then reposition the flame element. Like so, and I think I like it better if the flame is a little bit slower. It may not be correct, but I like it better. So I'm going to use it at 0.5, blend a little, like so. And I'm going to use a mask to keep the flames where I want them to. Again, these masks don't have to animate. And then I'm going to duplicate this one again, use another time speed with a different offset. And put it in here. And I think I want to do it again. I'm going to do it 2 more times. Like so, and like so. 2 more merge nodes, like this. And I'm going to put the last one here. And of course they both need another mask as well. So I'm going to add one. Make this one a little irregular as well. Remove the animation. And then for the final one, again, a very basic polyline mask. Make it slightly soft. And then we're almost done. If I look at the end result right now, I think the burning is a little bit too much. So I'm going to blend down the burn section. Turning it down definitely helped, but I'm not really satisfied yet with the size of the smoke. It feels like it's a bit too large after all. So I'm going to go in there and change that one a little bit size-wise. Like so. Maybe even a little smaller still. Move it into position again. Like so. And I also think it would benefit from a little extra fire because we have fire over here, but these windows aren't on fire yet. So I'm going to use the aptly named window fires from ActionVFX.com. And I have 3 sets of window fires over here. I will make a little bit of space. I'm so good at creating noodle soup. Let's see, where is the fire? Here we go. I'm going to add a merge tool right here and scale down the fire a lot. As you can see, this is already the actual shape of a window. I'm going to scale it down a lot so it will fit in here, like so. And I think I want to put this one on fire as well. So there we go again. Use a loader. Bonus tip, if you use your right mouse button, you can scroll through your images inside of Fusion. Like this one. So I'm going to put that one here. That one is also very big, so I'm going to scale it down like so. And I'm going to put it into position like this. So now we have a slightly smaller smoke plume, a little bit more fire in here. And if I look at the total picture, I notice that the center smoke column is a bit too dark and contrasty and maybe even a little bit too warm. Because if you look at the smoke over here, it has a slight bluish tint. So I'm going to go into the main background, the main color, and I'm going to adjust the colors ever so slightly and maybe even turn down the contrast again, even though we did that before. And now it's a little bit too gray, always the same. I think I want to add a little light from the other side to make it less one big fat cloud. And now it's a little bit too green. Always something isn't there. So I'm going to use a color corrector, set it to predivide post multiply, change the color ever so slightly, turn down the saturation in general. Yes, we go from this greenish look to the almost desaturated look, and combined with the LUT, it looks even better than it did before. So I think I'm going to call this shot done. Let's create one more preview and see what we ended up with. And here we have the end result. Let's take a look. Well, that looks pretty cool. The building's on fire. The other building in the middle has been put out more or less. And the car here on the right is engulfed in flames as well, which leaves our main actor with only one option left. Call a cab. So that's it. We went from this shot to this shot. We used all different elements that were available to us. We used the normal EXR files. We used the split out information to recreate the smoke without the fire, and we put it all together in a pretty convincing way, thanks to the Large Smoke Plumes from ActionVFX.com and a little tender love and care inside of Fusion. I hope this tutorial was useful for you. This was Sander de Recht for ActionVFX.com.